everybody. Welcome to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Marc. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. This is a bonus podcast episode called Comedy Night in the Spotlight, where I'll be speaking to people on the comedy circuit who run their own gigs, giving them the chance to tell the listeners all about it, how you can get involved watching the comedy they put on, and also, if you're a comedian, how to perform. So today it is my great pleasure to welcome Mollie Ehrman from Hot Mess. Hello, Mollie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Doing great. We're really close to the weekend, so I'm ready.
That's always a good sign. So come on then, Hot Mess. First thing I have to ask the first question, which is, why did you pick that name?
Actually, Hot Mess is put on by a small group of us who took a beginner's course at Angel Comedy together. And Hot Mess just kind of embodies the team more so than the night or the comics that we choose. It was a bit, I'm a control freak and I work in corporate. I work in business development and I'm very corporate. And so I'm a control freak and it's a bit like herding cats. So Hot Mess is more the ethos of the people putting it on. Okay. And that's the ethos of the comics. Although they're welcome to be hot messes as well.
Fair enough. So come on then, give us the lowdown on it. Where is it and all of that kind of jazz? Sell it to us.
Sure. So Hot Mess is in Soho. We're in the basement of the Med Cafe on, I always butcher this, on Barrack Street.
Barrack Street.
Yeah. W1FOPX. And so we're right in the middle of Soho and we do 5 spots and 10 spots. We are committed to 50% women, non-binary. All of our bills are meant to be set up that way. And we strategically screen and choose acts so that the night is a safe for everyone. Everyone can feel comfortable trying new material, but we avoid misogyny, racism, homophobia, anything like that. That's just not, we just don't need that. It's meant to be a fun night and we keep it to be that way. We also pride ourselves on staying at a 2-hour run time. So we start at 7:30 and end at 9:30.
That's good. So the venue itself, what did you select it or did they come to you or?
So one of the other people, Maria, she found it. She lives in Soho and I joke that she's the mayor of Soho. She knows everyone. And it's a great venue. It's just downstairs. We have access to the bar. The men who own the Med Cafe are so helpful and kind, and they set up the chairs for us every time. And on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month, I should say that. And just really take care of us and help us with anything they can. So we really just got lucky that Maria knows everyone in Soho.
Oh, okay. That does help, I guess, open a few doors.
Yeah.
So in Soho, what's the kind of size of the room then?
So we've been in 2 different rooms. They have 2 spaces downstairs, but we're typically, I would say we can do between 40 and 50 people. The room itself kind of looks like a fortune teller's cart and a traveling fair, like that kind of vibe. But it's fun. It's kind of a funky little weird room just down in the basement.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's nice when it's so it's kind of cozy, but sounds like it can hold a decent number of people. So you're not just trying to get 15 people in a room. You can actually expand it slightly.
Yeah, and we get great walk-by traffic as well because we have a chalkboard out in Soho and we're on Eventbrite. And so we often get, on Tuesday, we had a group of European tourists. We once had a professional photographer from Paris just pop in and they ended up doing all these photos for us, which was great. And they were free. And the comics that night all loved them because we were able to share and give them the edited photos. He actually edited them as well. It was unbelievable.
Wow. That was nice.
So nice.
So with it, so you say Eventbrite, so do you sell tickets beforehand?
Yeah, so we sell tickets for £5. There is an early bird discount set up on Eventbrite where people can get them for $2.50. Running a night, all of that money goes towards, we do pay our MCs typically if it's not someone from the Hot Mess team, to keep it professional and keep it moving. And then we have ambitions to go further, but that money helps pay for things like the lights we bought, and because it is just a basement room, isn't it? And so those kind of things have to go back into it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're just kind of recycling to try and grow the night and get bigger and more professional.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess that's what it's all about, really. So with the old typical open mic circuit in London, there's always that dreaded question of, is it a bringer or is it a stayer or is it just come and go or what? So how do you work it?
So there's 5 minutes and 10-minute spots, and if you're a 5 minute, it is a bringer and ideally a stayer. If it's a 10-minute spot, it's not a bringer and it's not a stayer. We even give you like your kind of call time if you just want to show up for the second half or the first half. All of our 10 minutes are usually pretty awesome, and they will stay for the half that they're in, as to not disrupt the night, because the stairs lead directly into the room. And I know people hate bringers, and I know it's hard, but those of us who put on the night, and this night, for example, all of us have full-time jobs as well. And so a full-time comedy promotion gig for an open mic night is not my only thing I do. And I feel for people, we have ways around bringers when people have emergencies. They just need to reach out to our Instagram or to me personally, and we have ways around it. I have never made someone come and be a punter for another hot mess gig. I do other things. And so I try to keep it fair and be understanding, because I also got like, sometimes things just happen, and no one should lose sanity over a bringer. It's not worth it.
Yeah. I think the one thing that any comedian probably does understand, the majority of them will, is that if you a bringer which will let you down at some point along your comedy journey, when they do get in contact with the night organizer straight away, just to let them know, rather than turn up on the door and go, "Hey, my bringer's just let me down." You know.
Yeah. Even, you know what? Even in that scenario, we've been able to make things work, and so we want acts who are kind, and so we try to also be kind to acts and understanding and help them out. So we're I think we're pretty laid back night. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments at me.
So is it the so you sell tickets in advance, but is there a bucket contribution at the end, or is it just more tickets on the door?
Yeah, so we do tickets on the door. We do a bucket at the end. We also, bringers are free. So sorry, of course we don't charge your bringers. We do a bucket at the door. And like I said, we pay our MCs, and eventually we'd like to pay 10-minute spots and kind of grow that way. And eventually we'd like to be a non-bringer night. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn too soon. I'm not going to get yelled at by everybody else who does this. But that's our goal, and that money helps with that, with advertising, because our social media person sucks, and that's why you'll notice that our social media is not done as well. And so I would love to pay someone to take that off our hands, or if there's anyone watching this with a passion for social media, please contact me. We can pay you in other ways.
Sounds ominous.
Yeah. Oh, not a nice way. It's like spots and non-bringers and things like that. Just the current person doing it is just horrible shit. Like, no, it just really sucks. Just really terrible. Honestly.
I've got to point out, for those that don't have this on a video, Mollie was actually pointing to herself.
Oh yeah, it's me. I'm the problem, just like Taylor Swift.
So I guess you kind of touched on it. What's the kind of the key ethos of the nights that you try to make them stand out and appealing for people to come to?
Yeah, I think really nice. You know what? As a female comic, I've been to nights where it's just been like loads of jokes that are horrible to women, and like young men who think they're edgy, and that is a big turnoff for me, because I don't feel great in that environment. Mm-hmm. And also, typically that crowd tends to hate me. Because my comedy is not the nicest to men. But also just like wanting to be inclusive in a place where you can try new jokes. I don't want to say you can't try to be dark or edgy. We just have some guardrails in place to keep everyone safe. And then really keeping it to 2 hours on a Tuesday night. We really pride ourselves in sticking to that, because we've all been at those nights that go on a bit long. And when you have a bringer, you've already convinced them to trudge out of their house to see God knows what on a weeknight. I don't want to then tie them up for hours and hours. And so I think those are probably our two like initiatives, and then just it should be really fun, and that's why we try to be laid back and understanding, and kind of help people out.
Yeah, no, I get that completely. I think it's the happier the audience are and happier their acts are. As much as everyone loves comedy, nobody wants to sit there for 4 hours going, "When's this going to end?
No.
Please, when's it going to end?" And if you're one of those people that you bought your bring along, yeah, I'm on 15th, and you're like,
I'm last.
wow, we got a lot to get through. And then by the time you get to act number 15, you've got half the audience are just sat there kind of like spaced out and completely zoned out of everything.
And I find if I'm a comic on, like in the third section of a night like that, by the time I'm on, I'm a bit like, can I just go home now?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I know there's nights out there that can run quite a while, and obviously they just try to get as many people on and give as many people a chance as possible.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be, I guess, at the detriment of the night, and sometimes it's you just accept what nights do what and what nights don't.
And like that's what I like. It doesn't. Not everyone likes what I like, clearly.
Yeah.
But it's for me, and for the people who put on this night, we decided like 2 hours is like we're good. And we get a lot of compliments, like not making recommendations to anyone, but a lot of people are like, oh my God, your night is like such perfect timing. We're out by 9:30. It's great.
Yeah.
Easy to get to from Soho. So I think the people who perform at our night are drawn to that aspect as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what's the, have you had any standout things happen on the Hot Mess stage then over the last, however long it's been going for?
Wow. So we started in September. I've performed, no, just kidding. Ruben K came and opened one of our Christmas show. And he was doing a show at South Bank at the time. Yeah. And so he was testing new material with us, which was lovely.
Cool.
We've had a lot of other people who run their own nights come and perform with us and give us really positive feedback. We have a lot of repeat comedians apply, which I think is pretty standout. And also on our Christmas show, at one point, all the lights and microphone died in the middle of the show. So that was really a fun time, you know? Like, we just, Hot Mess, truly just bringing you our name. I think what's nice is it's a group of people who put it together, and we all still like each other, and no one's been murdered yet. So I know sometimes when you do things as a group, like, that's not always the scenario. And so I really like all the people involved with it. As comedians and as partners and putting on a night. And to me, that's a huge success, better than anything that could happen on stage, honestly.
Yeah. But you must have you had any kind of real standout moments where somebody's just had the room in absolute raptures and it's just taken time for things to get back to beginning again, or something completely unexpected happens?
We did have, and I'm going to forget the comedian's name, but he was a magician, and he actually had one of my friends like kind of put her hand into like a tomato sauce, and the room, like, I didn't think we'd get the room back under control, honestly. And my friend is a very good sport and always gets picked on for crowd work. Yeah. And she is like, I'm not good at interacting with comedians, but they just, for some reason, they just love her. Every show she's ever been to, she gets picked on. So I mean, things like that. And our crowds tend to be quite nice because our comedians tend to be quite nice. Yeah. And so the room is always, I think, pretty warm and like up for anything and ready to be there.
Cool. So, where was that? So I guess what's the challenges you found then creating Hot Mess itself?
The challenges are, well, sometimes this is going to sound weird because we're committed to 50% women, non-binary. So I have had men tell me, I really want to do Hot Mess. I've been rejected 3 times. And I'm like, you haven't been rejected. I'm sorry. And I try to, I don't, this is where I get off the hook. I don't pick the acts. Haha. And I will say, like, hey, reach out to me. And if it's someone I've seen a lot and I know they're like safe and I'm familiar with them, or anyone else can do this who is at Hot Mess, we'll kind of recommend to each other, hey, we haven't seen this person yet, but I've seen them and they're safe and they're good and everything's above board. Because we do really pride ourselves in the act selection. And I don't think we ever have anyone on who people are like, oh, that person's quite weak. Yeah. And so I try to help out that way. So if you've been applying, sliding to my DMs or Hot Messes DMs, I do, even though I'm a horrible social media manager, I do consistently check the DMs of the Instagram. I'm going to post today in an effort to suck less. But I think that's one of our challenges is sometimes men will tell me, oh, I couldn't get on.
Yeah.
And then the other challenge I would say is just, again, it's our social media, which is fully 100% my fault. And we've tried to brand everything, even the photos we post into like a Canva background so that it's all branded. And I could probably do a lot more if I just sought it on the branding for the photos of the night and just put them up. But I'm a marketer, so I'm stuck in this weird catch-22 of like I could do it that way, but it seems half-assed to me. And I can't decide. So please, marketers, reach out to me and help me. I need you.
Somebody could get a job out of this.
Truly, come on.
I think the branding is important, especially when you see the things that some nights do. Some of them are, you can kind of look up to the effort they put in and how they tried to make things kind of come together. And I think it's like I saw one for Laughs on the Lane where they send out like the pictures that they do. They do like the place that they run it puts out like a reel of everybody that's on stage in a picture format, and it's kind of cool, and it's kind of nice to see as like a little memory of the night kind of thing, and that's what you want from it.
And Jonathan at Live Next to the Apollo does a really nice job. I don't know if he personally does the branding for that, but that's nicely branded and set up. And I've seen some others. It's not just that one. There's other great nights.
There's lots of them.
Where they like great at marketing as well. We are not great at marketing.
But you're getting decent numbers in the room though. So that's
still getting good numbers. We have good word of mouth, which is the oldest form of marketing.
Yes. So, how many applications do you generally get per month then?
So, I'll clear this up for everyone listening. So for 5s, we usually get per night, I would say north of 20 or 25. And our 10s, this is where it gets fun. Our 10s are all invited. And so you can't apply to be a 10. You have to have done a night with us, or we have to know who you are, and we have to want you. And that is, I get asked a lot, like, how can I do a 10 at Hot Mess? And I'm like, well, you got to do a 5 first. And that's just to kind of keep things fair and then elevate people who I have found it can be a little bit hard on the circuit, like breaking in and becoming known and getting those 7s and 10s. And that by forcing everyone into a 5 first, it creates almost more of a fairness, a like blanket fairness to get those spots because they are non-bringer and they are non-stayer and they're a better spot. And so by just asking people to do the 5 first helps a lot. And then we do try, we get a lot of repeat comics as well, like people that we like to see and know they're good, because we also want to just make sure that for the passerbys of Soho and all of our audience members who paid to be there, just people who are ready to be there, people who aren't going to freeze, like, obviously it's a new act, new material night, but we've had a couple of very first timers, but we want to build confidence and we want to make sure people are ready to be up on stage.
Yeah, I guess there's also an obligation when you're charging people for a ticket as well up front, that everyone tries to put on the best night they can possibly do. But if you're asking people to pay up front for something they have no idea about, you must feel you have an obligation that I need to put on the best people that I can put on.
Right. And we're always willing and happy to have new people come to our night.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, the people who do our night are always asking to come back, which is great. And we love that. Eventually, I've been asked if we're going to expand into more nights, and I think that could be something potentially that we do. We just need to be a bit more organized on the back end.
Yeah. So you say it's twice a month at the moment.
Yeah, the 2nd and 4th Tuesday.
The 2nd and 4th Tuesday. Okay.
Yes.
Nice breaking it up. But I guess I've always wondered, actually, with the days that people pick to run their nights, was that just like a venue saying we've got free, we can we are free on those days and we can do those, or is it a case of we'd like a Tuesday because of X, Y, and Z?
So I am essentially the one who bosses around everyone who works on this night and just makes sure things are done. And so I have a pub quiz on Thursdays. I'm a quiz master.
Oh, okay.
And so I was like, no Thursdays because I can't be there.
Yep.
And then we looked at kind of what was available on the circuit at the time when we started last September, I think was our first gig. And there was a lot of Wednesday, a lot of Thursday, but not so much Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
There was Sundays. We didn't like Monday, so we went with Tuesday. I don't remember why. I think we were just kind of like, no, like Monday is kind of, oh, you're like starting the week, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's do a Tuesday. And at the time, there weren't as many gigs on Tuesday. Now we have a little more competition with gigs that we see as competition. You know what I mean? Because it's like a business, right? Not every open mic night is our competition. Yeah. Because we're not the same.
Very true.
So we did pick Tuesday was strategic. I think some of the people in the group would have really liked Thursdays, but pub quizzes like pay so well for so little offer. So sorry.
So do you run a pub quiz then, or is it I don't mean just but a quiz master?
I'm just a quiz master. I work with a company. He sends me the quiz. I show up on Thursdays. I read it. I make fun of the men in the room. It's very much like stand-up comedy. And then that's it. And then I get paid cash every week. And I have a corporate. When I moved here, I was doing an MBA, and I didn't have a job. And I have a corporate job now, and I really don't need to do it anymore. Yeah. It's really hard to turn down free, easy money in London, especially when they give you a microphone for 2 hours. When you're like us,
yeah.
Anything where someone gives you a microphone, you're like, okay, I should do that.
I guess that's also on a kind of side note. Having something like that on the side is a great way to improve your own comedian skills and dealing with crowds and stuff.
Yeah, and your MC skills and controlling a room and like getting the vibe up or bringing like a group down a bit. And I have quite a raucous pub quiz in the winter. We get about 120 people who play.
Wow.
So it's been really good training. And a lot of people want to challenge me because I'm American, so I can't pronounce any county in this godforsaken country.
Leicestershire.
I was struggling with, I can't even remember, Marlborougugh Street.
Marlborough Street. I can't even say it properly.
That's the one.
I know how to say it, but
Marlborough.
Yeah. I don't think the mouth and the tongue kind of work in that fashion somehow.
No, it's horrible. It's horrible.
Just never go to Wales then.
Oh, I couldn't. Or I struggled with Ireland as well.
Oh yeah, Ireland. Wales would be an interesting one. Some of the names in there. Okay, so on the actual circuit itself, I mean, this can be from you as a comedian or as a promoter, or maybe even one of each. Is okay. What's the one thing you'd like to see change?
As a promoter, I would like to see more nights focus on having women comedians. I'm in the board group chat on WhatsApp, the infamous board, and there's plenty of us. There's no shortage of us. Like, not being able to fill your night with, at least, it doesn't have to be 50%. Like, that's fine. But, like, I see bills that are literally all dudes and one woman, and there's 10 comics. Like, come on, guys, can you do better? I'm scolding them. At me for that. And I mean, as a comedian, I feel a bit the same. It is hard to go on as a woman when the bill is all men, because if it is a bringer, it's like really blokey. And I previously had jokes about this, but like, women are meant to sit and listen to male comedians joke about their balls. But if I talk about anything in the woman experience, like laser hair removal or having a period or whatever, men will be like, that's not funny, that's unrelatable, blah blah blah. I'm like, I don't relate to your love of your balls or football. I don't care about that, but I can still find you funny. Like, men don't try to find women funny. Not all men. # not all men. But before I get canceled by the one that I'm saying. But I find that many men will be like, oh, well, I couldn't relate to that because it's not my personal life experience. And I just wish male comics do better.
Yeah.
Do better.
No, I understand where you're coming from. I've always heard about the infamous female comedy group chat, and I was always kind of like intrigued. But it's not my place. But it's always one of those. It's the mystery that's on the other side. It's like, what do they talk about?
It
But
is
it's.
mysterious.
I mean, I can imagine it's probably not the. Some of the discussions are probably not the best discussions that are going on for the rest of the people that are outside of the group, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it's not as interesting as anyone's imagining. It's gigs, comedy, women being nice to each other.
That's good. That's good.
Pretty cool. It's pretty cool, but it's nothing groundbreaking happening. Now I'll get kicked out of the board as well.
I'm sure not. I'm sure you're promoting it very well.
Yes, keep me. It's lovely. But just keep in mind, I do want to say, like, all of us have like jobs, and like kind of all of us are pretty corporate for the most part, and so many of us have stressful jobs and work long hours, and so it's not that we're not excited and don't want to put on a good night. And I know sometimes the confirmations come last minute, but it's just the nature of trying to do your regular job and stand-up comedy as a comic and help put on a night and select people, and it's just we're doing our best. There goes my headphone.
No, it's I think I've got so much admiration for people that put on the nights themselves and actually try to make what they want happen, rather than when you get people that come along and say, well, why isn't there a night for this? Well, if you want a night for that, make a night for that. It's out there for you to do.
I'm really trying to get a group of comics together right now to do a one-off night, like a bereavement night called Dead Funny, where we just make like loads of jokes about how you have dead family members. Because I personally have some jokes about that, but they get a bit dark and it's harder to do. So I thought, like, if the crowd comes in the right mindset, this will be a way better night. That's
actually quite a really interesting night. I had a sort of mini discussion with the previous guest about this kind of thing. We were talking about things that you can and can't joke about, and we got onto the subject. So, some people really can't joke about cancer, but some people can, and it all becomes about relatable and stuff like that. And I spoke about how one day I wanted to create a set based around my parents who both died of cancer, because I think it would almost be a bit of therapy, but it would also be something that if they were still around, they could see it and they'd laugh at it because they were part of it. And I think it's one of those where if you're involved in it, you should never be offended on behalf of somebody else.
I think what happens is there's so few people who've lost a family member. I think, like, fortunately, there's also tons of us who have, but I think that the people who've never lost anyone, when I say something like, the time I drove my dad's ashes from Ohio to Las Vegas was the most quiet he's ever been in the freaking car. And we never had to turn down the radio and have a conversation. God bless him. Thank God. Like, you get it. You've lost a parent. Like, that's funny and it's okay. And you know that I'm okay. I'm not like on the edge of a cliff. But I think for people who haven't, like, they feel a bit awkward of like, can I laugh at that? And I know so many comedians with dead family members, which might be like telling about us. But I just thought it'd be really funny because I've made jokes about my sister dying as well, and that makes people really uncomfortable. Just the thought of someone dying quite young, and I'm like, don't worry, guys, she died for this. This is what you want.
Well, I kind of get it because we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but this is kind of what this podcast does, I guess. Is that when I went to see Frankie Boyle, literally a week after my mum passed away. And he started with a joke about cancer, which was something along the lines of, I turned up to the doctor to get the results of my test. And he said, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news for you. He said, well, give me the bad news. He said, well, the bad news is you've got cancer, sir. I said, and you've only got about 3 weeks left to live. He said, well, what's the good news? He said, you'll go down log flume so much quicker after the chemotherapy. And I just sat there in rolls and rolls of laughter. But the friend that came with me looked at me as if to say, you are absolutely mental after what's just happened to you. I'm just like, it's just, she'd laugh at it.
Of course. I think people just get so uncomfortable. So yeah, that's a night that I would love to put on. I just think it'd be funny and fun, and it could be a bit darker because the crowd would be up for it.
Yeah, I don't think there is a night like that out there at the moment.
No, and I don't know if it could be ongoing. Maybe it could be. If someone else wants to do it and take over, there's no copyright on the idea, but you do have to book me as a headliner because it was my idea. But I named it already. I've come up with a name. So no, I think things like that are like quite funny, and I've been checking out more alternative comedy nights, which is really fun and really different. And there's just so much out there. I think that's the other thing. I'm a traditional quote unquote stand up, and I have been trying to push myself to do more alternative nights and try things that are a little bit out of my comfort zone, because part of doing nights and putting on nights is pushing yourself to do new things and get better and fail a bit as well. And I think it's fine to fail. I have failed massively and horribly. And so I think that's important too. The good news about Hot Mess is, even if you're not at your funniest, even if you look back at your set and you're like, that was my best work, as I said, the rooms tend to be pretty warm. And so they're pretty kind always.
Cool. Okay. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So what's I'm speaking to the social media manager of the year now. Ooh, so what are the social media links that everyone needs to know?
All right, so it's really only our Instagram is where the magic happens, and it's Hot Mess, all one word, _comedy. And it looks like the Mean Girls. It's like the Burn Book vibe of like the letters are cut. So that's how you know it's us. Just Hot Mess _comedy.
Okay, cool.
And you can slide into our DMs.
I assume there's a Google form to fill in for comedians to apply.
Yes, so there's a Google form. It's in I'm just double checking this because, of course, everything's done perfectly. It's in our links in our bio. Our act booking form is up. We update it. When it's updated, I do put a note in the story. We're currently booking in for April gigs right now. The links are there. The Eventbrite is also there to link to. We do ask that people register their bringers on the Eventbrite, but they're given a code when they get their confirmation email.
Okay, cool. Okay, and you can find us on Instagram at Open Mic Comedy Pod. We're on all the W's at openmiccomedypod.com. So if you, whichever platform you're listening to us on, it would be lovely if we could see a 5-star review appear. A few of them are appearing these days, which is really nice. It helps boost gets shown to more and more people. And if you're within this crazy industry and you've got any friends that are a part of it or want to be part of it, please share these podcasts around. These bonus episodes are really helpful for Mollie and other people to get their nights out there. So you may be hearing about nights you've never heard of. You've done your traditional ones throughout the London circuit, and now you're getting to hear about some others. So hit Mollie up and find out how to get on her nights. And until next time, I shall speak to you all again soon.